Hi, welcome to Dead Air Live. I'm Jean Flanagan, and in our switch over to digital in the last few years, for those of you that are long-term watchers of Dead Air Live, you might have noticed we've sort of lost our original background intro, and we're working on resurrecting it. So that was the beginning of resurrecting. So you saw a little of the old title of one of the old titles in there. But tonight, it's appropriate because we're going to look at some archive shows. Dead Air Live's been around for over 30 years. We're the oldest live TV show in community access in the world. And we have archives from reel to reel through 3/4 inch and ½ inch. So we went back to 1998. And we're going to look at 11 different shows of our about 25 that we produce in any given year. You'll see members that aren't with us anymore, and this is actually the year before I joined, so I like going back to the archives to see what's being produced. So the first show tonight is going to be American Indians in New England. So let's watch that tape.
We've been in Mashpee since we've been, I imagine, for thousands of years. We're still there. In the 70s, there was an attempt to gain the undeveloped land to keep Mashpee from being further developed. And we were unsuccessful. We were against major banks in the country, and we were against the state of Massachusetts, and of course, we didn't have a lot of money. And in 1984, after the land claim was not heard in land court, Mashpee became the fastest growing town in the country. And today, we have a huge population. The school I grew up in, my mother went to, and it was fine. It suited our purposes. In the last 14 years, we've had to build 3 new schools. We're currently building a 4th school, and we have a polluted Papaneset Bay, a polluted Mashpee River, polluted Santuit River, due to septic systems and golf course overrun. And so basically, that's what's happened. But we are still there.
Because back at that, at that point, it was basically a lot of people were looking to develop that relatively undeveloped part of the Cape.
Yeah, and just prior to that, I think some of my elders, I was a kid at the time, but some of my elders had a real sense that this could potentially happen to Mashpee, and decided that seeing how the state of Massachusetts made us citizens, which was a violation of federal law, and taxed the land, and then took it 8 months later when no one could pay taxes, then technically we weren't really citizens of the U.S. And perhaps if we got some of the land back, we wouldn't sort of befall the fate of a lot of Cape towns. But unfortunately, that's where we're at today.
Yeah, and one of the interesting parts of this whole case was that it was argued in court that Mashpee people weren't a tribe. But just to bring it up to date, actually, you were telling me earlier how the Mashpee is sort of like high in the list of tribes to be federally recognized, right?
Yep, we're currently near the top for active consideration. Our application is over 10,000 pages long. This is what the federal government's asked us for in documentation. And basically, what this will mean for Mashpee people is that the United States government will recognize our government, and we'll be able to have a sovereign relationship with the U.S. government.
Which is the status of the Aquina tribe right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So having that status, does your community act any differently having that status?
Well, it gives us a lot of responsibility. We have, with federal recognition, which we received in 1987, you develop a government-to-government relationship with the United States. And so it is a lot of responsibility, but it also gives you a little bit more ability to gain services for your people, which is the point of going for federal recognition.
Right. I imagine housing would be a big deal.
Indian housing is a big incentive because the average home in Mashpee sells, you could buy a decent home for, say, a family of 4 in Mashpee for about $165,000, and the income on the Cape is very low. A lot of Native families cannot afford to to own homes on their own indigenous land.
That's also an issue with us in Aquinnah, and we have been lucky enough to receive funding for housing. We currently have 22 houses on tribal land, which is very beneficial for our people. It allows many of our people who wouldn't normally have the opportunity to come home and to get more involved with the tribe.
Great.
Yeah, Indian housing spells survival, really.
All right. But this is something that might take a while, right? This is sort of, I mean, that would happen in the 80s for the Aquinnah people in Martha's Vineyard. This is something that would take a couple of years, I imagine.
We've got a couple more years to go.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been going through this process for 15 years now. We've still got a couple of years before we'll have a determination.
Now, both of you are really involved culturally as well as politically, I guess you can call it. Now, you were telling me about, well, there was one, actually, there's a museum in Mashpee, right? I don't know exactly what it is. It's a Native American museum.
Mashpee Wampanoag Museum.
Okay. Which the tribe just got ownership over. Is that right?
Yeah, the town just gave it back to us. They took it away during the land suit by illegal stipulation.
Hi, and welcome back. That show was about the Wampanoag Indian and Mashpee tribes out on the Cape, and she was talking about trying to get tribal status. And in 2007, just a year ago, this tape is from 10 years ago, just a year ago, they finally did get tribal status, federal recognition in the United States. So almost 25 years they worked to get tribal recognition. So that's what made that tape relevant for my purposes. The next tape is called Anywhere But Here, and it's a series of travelogues. This little short segment we're going to watch is Amanda Sawiris, who's no longer a member, did as part of her CERT tape, and it's 2 men scuba diving in Cape Ann in Massachusetts.
Looks like we got a big fish coming up out of the water here. Let's go over and talk to this diver.
Good.
My name's Amanda. What's your name?
Chris.
Pleased to meet you. I'm from Somerville Cable Television.
Oh.
I'm just out shooting today.
A little tired? Give me a wiggle.
Is it hard work?
Yes.
Yes.
Especially when you end up way over there and you gotta swim back.
Really? Is it your first time?
No.
Yeah.
This year it's my first time. I'm a little out of shape.
All early
I
dive.
found one bug,
Was that?
one lobster. That was yours.
Oh, that's great.
That was
So, how come they take so much energy? I haven't really been diving, but I'd like
The
to.
water's pretty cold actually right now too.
Really?
You can. I was just bottom time for an hour and 1 minute, but it's about 46 degrees out there in the bottom.
Wow. So that's kind of
Yeah,
a little hard
my
to
index
take.
finger got nipped. Did yours?
Oh, you got nothing on TV or? You just,
Well, I might. Yeah, I probably will.
it's public broadcast TV or is it?
Yeah. Okay. I'll see
ya.
you later. Thank
Okay.
you.
So we're not really sure whether they had a license for that lobster or whether that lobster was legal. But anyway, it was a cute little piece of tape. The next tape we're going to show, these are all from 1998, 10 years ago. And the next tape is a show that was a puppet show. It was a series of tales with puppets made by a member of SPG. Called Once Upon a Time was the name of the show. And Amanda Sawiris is going to be hosting this little segment, and Larry Yeager is the puppeteer and the voice of the puppet. They eventually got married and left SPG to have children. So we're going to see Amanda and Larry.
Very well then. Sir Oscar, I'm wondering what other upcoming shows you might have planned.
Well, you know, I'm booked into the Old Vic in London early next year to do a streetcar named Desire with Miss Piggy.
Oh, marvelous, marvelous. The two of you should make quite a pair.
I'm quite looking forward to it. If you'll excuse the expression, I've heard she's quite a woman.
I see, I see. Well, I hear that you have a special surprise for us this evening, Sir Oscar.
I have consented, for both your pleasure and mine, to do a reading of The Revolving Door by Newman Levy.
Great. Go on, then.
Very well. The Revolving Door. This is the horrible tale of Paul MacGregor James D. Cuthbert Hall, who left his home one winter's day to go to work, and on his way, in a manner that was strange and weird, mysteriously disappeared. He left no clue, he left no trace, he seemed to vanish into space. Now listen to the fate of Paul MacGregor James D. Cuthbert Hall. He worked, did James, as a shipping clerk for Parkinson, McBain, and Burke, who in their store on North Broadway sold dry goods in a retail way. And the entrance to the store there was a very large revolving door, through which passed all who went to work for Parkinson, McBain, and Burke. Upon this day, accursed of fate, MacGregor James, arriving late, dashed headlong madly through the store, and plunged in through the spinning door. Around it twirled and whirled, and Paul was twisted, curled and hurled, and mashed and crashed and dashed and bashed, as round and round it spun and flashed. At times it nearly stopped, and then it straightway started up again. I fear that I'll be late for work, and Parkinson, McBain, and Burke will be distressed and grieved, thought Paul MacGregor James D. Cuthbert Hall. He raised his voice in a frantic cry, and tried to hail the passers-by. He tried in vain to call a cop, but still the door refused to stop. And so he spins and whirls about, and struggles madly to get out, while friends heartbroken search for Paul MacGregor James D. Cuthbert Hall.
Hi, and welcome back. That was Larry Yeager being the puppet in Once Upon a Time. So we're continuing our stroll through 1998 and the shows that were here in the studio for Somerville Producers Group. The next one is a pretty typical SPG. It's called SPG Potluck. And each of the members is expected to bring in a tape, do a skit, build something, whatever. We won't see part of the segment, but they actually sat around on sofas and then introduced all the different tapes, and everybody was sort of part of the set. It was a fun set. But we have a slightly longer tape, and this one is called Cooking with Julia.
There's no one spur of the moment, so here it is.
Mean
Hey, this is
potluck.
just
Some people are moody.
Yes, it's Cooking with Julia, with your host, Julia Child. Welcome to Cooking with Julia. Today we're going to make a very special treat. It's one that my husband and I have enjoyed ever since our days in Ceylon together, and that is Spam hors d'oeuvres, made, of course, with Spam and Velveeta cheese, and of course, my favorite, Wonder Bread. Oops. First, we'll start off by laying the Wonder Bread out on the cooking board. There we are. And very carefully, so we won't be making finger sandwiches. Ha 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 ha. We'll cut off the crust. save the crust and use them in a number of really wonderful recipes, such as... You'd do that at home though, wouldn't you? And now, we'll take a nice heavy gauge rolling pin and we'll flatten out the Wonder Bread, like so. Just give it a little, oh, excuse me a minute, it's time for my drink. Here we are. See, it's nice and thin now. Now you take your Spam and pop the top. Oh, Spam in my eye, oh God, I hate that. And now, you take your Spam can and you whack it, like that. And you're gonna shake it out, tap it on the sides, like so. There you have your nice piece of pressed pork shoulder and assorted pig partlets in a nice sized loaf. Now, being careful again with the knife, you want to slice your Spam very, very thin, like so. There we are. And you want to take your Velveeta cheese and open it. Now, if you don't have Velveeta, you can substitute a number of things. You can use a nice port salut or a Stilton or something that you might have laying around the house. There, we open up the Velveeta. And we'll put that there for now. We'll just slice it very, very thin. Very, very thin. And just squish it off the knife like that. And you want to put it on the bread. Just sort of move it around with your hands like that. And don't be afraid of using your fingers. Using your fingers is perfectly permissible. And you take your piece of Spam. Now, if you like your hors d'oeuvres moist, I recommend using a little Hellman's mayonnaise because it just sort of brings out the best. Now you put this aside like that, and you take your rolling pin and you roll out another piece of bread. And you can lay that atop. And then you want to take your rolling pin again and roll out the Spam. Roll it out. There we are. Isn't that lovely? Now, this is the interesting part. You want to take the Spam and the bread and roll it up like you would a little maki roll. And we'll put that piece aside. Now you have your nice Spam and Velveeta cheese hors d'oeuvre. You want to slice them about 7/16 of an inch thick. Like so. Here we are, aren't they cute? Aren't they adorable? Now, if your guest like hot hors d'oeuvres, well, you can just simply take the little Spam pinwheels that you've created here, and you can go over to your microwave and cook them. And here we'll put it on high for, we'll say 10 minutes. I think they're done now.
Hi, and welcome back to Dead Air Live. That was 1998, and for those of you that didn't quite catch the little picture that kept cropping up in the middle of Julia's show, the entire show had Monica Lewinsky throughout it because it was 1998. So that was all part of the adventure. And besides having comedy and spoof, Somerville Producers Group often deals with political issues of the time. And there were a number of shows that were dealing with the current political issues of 1998. And the show that I'm going to show you, actually 2 clips. We're going to come back and I'll talk between them, but we're going to show 2 clips of this 2-hour documentary of Elena Ceausescu. And her husband, Nicolae Ceausescu, was the communist dictator of Romania from 1965 to 1989. And then Romania had a 1-week coup. And let's roll the tape and we'll get a short introduction to who Elena Ceausescu was.
Good evening, welcome to Dead Air Live. My name is David Lancaster, and tonight we have the honor of showing a documentary film. I was recently in Amsterdam visiting some friends, and I got a copy of this film that was made by Emil Bucerca and Lydia de Koning. They went to Romania and compiled a lot of documentary footage as well as doing some interviews. And it's about Elena Ceausescu, the wife of Nicolae Ceausescu. Elena was a very interesting character in the sense that she had this penchant to be respected worldwide as a medical researcher and a doctor. And what she did was she forced the academic and medical communities of Romania to do all this research and put it in her name. And as a result, she ended up gaining all this international fame and respect as a medical researcher, and was awarded many graduate degrees, honorary degrees from very wide variety of universities. Well, anyways, enough chatter and stumbling around. Let's go to the film, and this is part 1. Next week will be part 2, so enjoy the show.
de culoare gălbuie, foarte deasă, nu se vedea nimic prin ea, și ne-au anunțat că vom fi duși să fim împușcați. Unii au început să plângă, i-am rugat să nu plângă pentru că sunt bărbați. Asta e soarta bărbatului în astfel de clipe. Trebuie să aibă curaj și am fost conduși așa sub pază militară, spunându-ne pași 2 pași la dreapta, acum urmează 3 scări, întoarceți-vă la stânga, lasă capul jos, mai coborâți 5 scări, mergeți înainte, după care m-am trezit într-o celulă boltită. Mi s-au scos cătușele și acolo, în celulă, mai erau colonelul Lăzărescu Florea, de la securitate, colonelul Nae Octavian, de la securitate, majorul David Aurel, de la securitate, un civil, un tânăr care fusese prins la una din ieșirile CC-ului cu stilourile și pixurile lui Ceaușescu, încercase să le fure, deci, și de aceeași cătușe cu mine fusese capitanul Sălăjean. La un moment dat ei mi-au spus că dacă nu aș fi spart acel meeting în fața Comitetului Central, spuneau ei că dacă nu s-ar fi întâmplat ce s-a întâmplat pe 21 decembrie, ei aflaseră că pe 30 decembrie era pregătită o acțiune de omorâre a membrilor Comitetului Central, să tragă în toți membrii Comitetului Central care s-ar fi aflat frumos așezați pe scările din fața CC-ului. Din membrii respectivi, la acea dată ar fi lipsit doamna Elena Ceaușescu, care, motivând că are o viroză, n-ar fi participat. Dar securitatea deci știa de așa ceva și s-ar fi împotrivit. Planul n-ar fi reușit.
a fost, ce este e și va mai fi ce se cuvine.
Asta este istoria. Cu părți bune, cu părți rele, n-are niciun rost să ascundem adevărul. Dacă nu spunem adevărul despre tot ce s-a întâmplat, nu putem să mergem mai înainte.
Oamenii nu mai vor să-și aducă aminte ce a fost și asta e rău. Trebuie să ne aducem aminte, pentru că, după părerea mea, este imposibil să sper cu adevărat dacă nu-ți aduce aminte.
Hi, and welcome back. That's the beginning of the documentary that was made in Europe about Elena Ceausescu, the wife of Nicolae Ceausescu. This show is from 1998. This was shown on Dead Air Live. And we're going to see another clip from the second half of the show. It was a 2-hour show done over a 2-week period. And Elena Ceausescu became the head of the health ministry and the head of all the medical research, got her name known. And a couple of things she did was she eliminated birth control, which is why in the 1990s it was very common for Americans to go to Romania to adopt orphans in the very badly run state orphanages. She also denied AIDS, created one of the largest AIDS epidemics in all of Europe. So let's look at another clip from Elena Ceausescu tape.
Străinii a străit, putea să muriți cu ei să vi se ofere acel azil politic. Cu toate, râsul acesta este semnul bolii dumneavoastră.
Interesant din punct de vedere psihologic este și relația între cei doi legată de boala lui. Nicolae Ceaușescu, începând din sfârșitul anilor 70, a început să sufere de o serie de boli care erau foarte sensibile pentru simțul lui de macho, de bărbat. Avea o boală care îl silea să meargă cu o bășică specială de cauciuc, pentru că se urina în timpul unor ședințe. Nu putea să se țină.
Echipa de îngrijire a lui Ceaușescu era formată dintr-o serie de medici activiști cu foarte slabă pregătire profesională. Dorința de a nu difuza informația a făcut ca să apeleze la acești medici de care era sigur că nu vor vorbi. O boală era evident cât se poate de mult ascunsă marelui public. Nu trebuie să știe că vreuna din notabilitățile sistemului suferă de ceva.
Vă rog să-l poftiți pe pat.
Ceaușescu avea un adenom de prostată, s-ar fi putut să fie chiar și un cancer. Avea și ereditate diabetică, avea și ereditate hipertensivă. Dieta pe care o ținea era totalmente nefiziologică, de unde și pierderea mare în greutate pe care a avut-o. A făcut și destul de multe hipoglicemii datorită acestui aport scăzut de alimente, lucru care cred eu că i-a deteriorat progresiv funcțiile cerebrale și mai ales stabilitatea psihică.
17, 170 cu 105.
Acest gen de boli au creat între cei doi o relație nouă. El a început să fie foarte dependent față de ea și asta a fost perioada când ea a câștigat putere din ce în ce mai mare.
Ea avea un mare ascendent asupra lui. Mare ascendent. Era suficient să-l vezi pe Ceaușescu, de câte ori vorbea, de câte ori se urca la tribună, în timp ce își ținea discursul, din când în când se uita spre ea, ca și când avea nevoie de o aprobare.
Să facem totul pentru a merge pe cel mai bun și pe cel mai scurt drum pentru a evita efortul prea mare. Dar va trebui să facem eforturi și să învingem multe greutăți.
Se pot lua cele mai odioase măsuri împotriva neamurilor. Și asta pe linia șerleidă, cu binele dosar de cadre ținut de doamna. Cu buna ascultare făcută de domnia sa, este reprobabil până și pe WC-ul i-a ascultat pe demnitari și pe acoliți. Cu asta se ocupa scumpa noastră conducere.
Eu, în primul rând, am fost împotriva să fie membru al Comitetului Central. Am fost împotriva să fie ales ca academician, pentru că n-avea niciun fel de lucrări științifice. Am fost împotriva să fie președintele Consiliul Național de Știință și Tehnologie. Am fost împotriva să fie prim vicepreședinte al Guvernului. Când a fost propus, a început ședința dimineața și s-a terminat seara. Ca o fetișcană, virgine, așa s-a comportat, că el nu vrea. Și trece câteva ore și eu mă scol și îi spun, tovarăș, nu vedeți că tovarășa Lenuța știe că nu e bine să fie membru al guvernului? De ce forțați? Lăsați-vă! Știe dânsa că nu e bine. Și acum așa ce o să facem o pauză, eu nu știu, că femeile probabil rezistă mai mult să nu facă pipi, dar eu dacă nu ies acum să facem pipi, fac în pantalon. Și s-a făcut pauză. În pauză am intrat în toaletă. Asta e foarte interesant. Și am făcut pipi. Gogu spunea, vezi măi, ce degradare avem în acest comitet politic. Ne pișăm, ne căcăm pe noi și nici măcar o pauză nu propunem. După 2 zile este chemat Gogu Rădulescu și a fost întrebat, dar ce, Gogule, numai cu ajutorul Ioanși poți să faci pipi și caca? Vine Gogu seară și venim acasă pe jos. Măi, Ioanși, măi, uite ce s-a întâmplat. Asta înseamnă că WC-ul Comitetului Politic Executiv era plin de microfoane. Asta este că n-a existat democrație în partid.
Hi, and welcome back. The revolt that happened in Romania actually took 1 week, and they held a 2-hour kangaroo court, which is part of what you're seeing through the film as they sort of put leading questions to Nicolae and Elena, and they were actually shot at the end of the day on Christmas Day in 1989, and that was the end of the rule. So the next political show, the next political event, Americans remember, and a lot better than they remember the Ceausescu era, which is Iraq. So we did a show in 1998 on Iraq issues and concerns. The show actually aired here on March 1998. Just to give you a little background, the first Gulf War was in 1991, and 1998 was when the inspectors pulled out of Iraq. And then in December of 1998, so 8 months after we aired the show you're about to see a segment of, was when we started bombing Baghdad. So let's go to Iraq issues and concerns.
And within the Arab context, in 1981, it was Israel that on its own launched a preemptive attack against Iraq's nuclear reactor. It had 1 nuclear reactor. It was certified by the Atomic Energy Commission as being used for peaceful purposes. And after that certification, Israel went ahead and bombed it. And that, some historians believe, is what prompted Iraq to begin to develop chemical and biological weapons. They couldn't easily develop nuclear weapons. So, as Joe pointed out, these are the poor man's choice of weapons of mass destruction. And there's 2 parts to the embargo. There's an economic and a military embargo. And I think most most groups would say that the military embargo needs to remain in place. But the economic embargo is a whole other thing. That's got to go.
What kind of things are involved in the embargo? I saw a list today that was including things that I had no idea were
very basic stuff.
Books and bicycles and stuff.
Yes, books. There's an intellectual embargo. There are no journals, no textbooks of any kind are allowed into the country. Mail is limited to about 32 grams. So if you try to send a textbook to a doctor there, it won't get through. Poetry, fiction, none of that. So intellectual embargo, as well as things that like ambulances, tires for ambulances, spare parts for electrical generators, things like sunglasses, sun hats, little plastic balls that children might play with, notebooks for children. At one time, pencils were banned because the graphite was said to be dual use, military and domestic. That's no longer on the list.
That's an interesting aspect on it, though, because that's precisely what the U.S. was providing to Saddam Hussein in the time leading up to the Gulf War. Was while we weren't directly arming him, we were giving him all this dual-use technology. You may notice, like a lot of the trucks, there are Mack trucks, which could be used for one purpose, that's civilian, but on the other hand, could be used to move a Scud missile launcher or something like that.
And it should be with the vocal support of Vice President Bush and then President Bush and Robert Dole. They went out of their way to make sure the lines of credit were open to Iraq so that they can continue to purchase this dual-use military technology. This has become known as Iraq Gate, but nobody kind of explores it in depth as to what was actually going on and how did they maintain these lines of credit to allow the Iraqi government military establishment to flourish in that time. But this was through the help and the active assistance of the U.S. administration. And then overnight, Iraq became, Hussein became Hitler, and Iraq became the Third Reich, and then the Gulf War happened.
And of course, we had just been through this once before in Panama, where it was almost a virtual repetition, where we had a former U.S. client dictator who all of a sudden became this demon who was out of control, and we had to invade their country and bomb them in order to bring this person to justice.
Right. Many people are worried about Saddam's capacity to harm or destroy his neighbors, but many other people are worried about the capacity of the United States to do the same, since the U.S. is the only country that has dropped an atomic weapon. As a matter of fact, I think the Canadians are worried about our weapons of mass destruction, because I read that they sent a delegation of, including a member of Parliament, to Seattle, Washington, was it, to inspect the Navy depot there and look at the cruise missiles or the subs or whatever weapons that were there. And they expected to be greeted with open arms, because they said surely the United States has nothing to hide and there's no secret weapons being developed in the United States. So I'm not sure what happened with that idea, but I know they were in Seattle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think the United States will allow any inspectors to inspect their chemical weapons plants. I could be wrong about that, but I think that is the case. That we have the largest stockpile, and we will not allow UN inspectors in to inspect them. And we continue to develop chemical weapons and biological weapons.
And some kind of smart nuke that explodes underground and...
Yeah, well, that was one they wanted to test in this latest round, was this bunker basher, as it's called. It would penetrate 60 feet underground and then explode, a nuclear warhead. And the theory was that it would incinerate instantly any chemical or biological weapons that might have been hidden. And
Hi, and welcome back. So Iraq's been in our radar for a long time, and we're not looking at it going away anytime soon. So that's what we try to do at SPG. We try to pick up relevant political issues of the time. And when we look back on them, it's interesting how they relate to our present day. So that's 10 years ago. Our next 10-year ago show is Laurel Greenberg introducing some local filmmakers. And this one, we're going to show this one filmmaker introducing her trailer about Jews and the Dalai Lama.
In this film,
yeah, it was. I had the rights to the book, and I even had some money. And I remember when I first got some startup money, I was in New York, and I was with Roger, who the film was about, and I had my head in my hands. And he said, "What's wrong with you? You just got money." I was sitting there like this. I said, "I don't have a clue how to make this film. I don't have a clue how to tell this story." And then I went to India, and I said, "Well, that's the missing piece. I'll go to India and find out. It's the only part I don't know about." And I'm walking through the streets of Dharamsala, India, thinking, impossible, I absolutely can't make this film. And I'm strategizing, how can I give the money back? I really was. I was like, I've already spent some of the money. Because I cannot make this film. And I was absolutely at wit's end. And the only thing that saved me is I thought of this man that ended up being my story consultant. And I said, oh, he'll save me. He'll help me figure out how to tell this story. But I absolutely hit a wall when I was in
Well, you
India.
sound a little bit like Roger sounds you know what I mean? I mean, when he says,
Everyone says that. When I start telling this my story, they say, who are you? You know, well, I really think filmmakers tell their own stories anyway. And why did I find that story in Roger to tell? Because it's so similar to my own story. And when I talk more about my own story, there's even more of a parallel between the two of us. So it's, you know.
Well, we have a clip from, we have a couple clips from The Jewel and the Lotus, but this one will be sort of an introductory clip. So let's go see that now.
First time on the airwaves.
Uh-oh.
In the fall of 1990, a group of rabbis traveled to northern India to meet with the Dalai Lama, the leader of Tibet. The Dalai Lama was forced out of his own land in 1959. Later, he turned to the Jewish people for help. "Tell me your secret," he said, "a secret of spiritual survival in exile." Why was I there? I don't know. I wasn't a spiritual person. I wasn't a rabbi, or a Jewish scholar even. I was a writer. I was invited to India by my best friend, Mark Lieberman, who organized the whole trip. I went along as a scribe. It's a journey that, in many ways, I'm still on. Traveling is, as you travel, you leave your familiar surroundings. You're letting go. You're stripping off layer after layer of who you are. The further you travel, the more you strip. I mean, you're not your passport. You're not your name. You're not your family. You're not any of those things. Who are you?
I didn't realize how bad it had gotten until he left, because when he was gone, I felt enormous relief. And in fact, I felt very rejuvenated, and like a weight was lifted from me.
They say that if you lie down in a deep well, even in daylight, you can see the stars. I was in a deep, deep well, looking up, and I saw something absolutely brilliant.
Just let me know. Okay, we're back. Welcome back to Dead Air Live, and our show tonight is local filmmaking. And that was a clip I'm told was the first time it's been on the airwaves of The Jew and the Lotus. It's so new that it still has little timecode numbers running along the bottom. And the filmmaker Laurel Chiton is with us in the studio tonight, and that film won Outstanding Personal Vision in the New England Film and Video Festival So outstanding, was that your outstanding personal vision? Was that what that award was for?
I
That you had an outstanding personal vision?
I had some kind of vision, and I guess it stood out. But yeah, I assume that. I think the New England Film and Video Fest, it's my 3rd time in it. And I think what's so great about it is that when they can't fit you in a category, they make these things up. They just made this one up for my film. Well, but I have to say, I have to tell you, when I first found out that I got the award, I said, that's really great. Who won Best of Festival? They said Ellie Lee. I said, okay. Very good. I'm happy.
It's very sweet.
She deserves
it's
it.
Beautiful. I mean, the images in that, you know, as you could see in that first segment we watched, they're just amazing. That stuff in all those colors and the music, and it's really, it's mesmerizing. I mean, I got to give you credit for that. I guess that was what you.
That was the vision.
That was your vision.
Yeah. Well, I should tell you that what was so interesting about making this film is I did it in a way that I've never heard of a documentary being done. In that I started with, I work with a story consultant, and I would meet with him every week, and I say, okay, here are the characters, here's an idea for a story. And we actually thought of character development, that this guy's going to go from here to here to here to here, and really put a whole story together before I picked up a camera and started shooting. Now that story changed, but did it change dramatically? No. I mean, I thought this guy's a loser, and he starts off here, and there was like all these subplots that were going on, because I actually.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jean Flanagan, and this is Dead Air Live, and we're looking at shows from 1998, and we're going to look at another film show called Dave's Cave. This is Dave's Cave 2, and we're going to look at another filmmaker's trailer. So let's just go to that tape. So when we look at local filmmakers, I mean, some of these films you've probably never heard of. They've been shown in film festivals. Who knows? You know, they're probably packed up on their shelves again, and you may not see them. So let's check out this tape.
The trailer to Starving Artist.
Who is it?
Singing telegram.
Oh boy. Singing telegram.
You thought you'd play it cool and run with the money. That wasn't funny. Now you're in trouble, sonny. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but now it's time to pay your dues. Ain't got a dime to pay your, can't find another rhyme to pay your. Hey, now it's time to pay your dues.
Hi, my name's Zach. Zach! Hey, Zach, what do you do?
I run a theater company.
The wall floors up and down that stage direction.
You seem to be a tad accident prone.
We are here with Jay Phillips, maker of the Upside Down movies.
CM 14 apples. Take 5. Oh, guys. Take 5. Zach, listen. Our neighbors are criminals. What? Damn it! I heard gunshots. All right, everybody hit the floor! It could have been a champagne bottle. Our champagne bottles usually followed by screams. You ever been hit by a cork? It's very painful.
Oh, I get it. You're crazy about her, but you don't want to say anything because you don't want to ruin your working relationship.
No, it's not that.
Okay, then she's available. I'll go talk to her.
What? Hey, Mark. Zach, I broke into our neighbor's apartment. You what?
Bob's insane.
Holy moose, no, Bob. Zach, the monkeys are running loose.
How are things with you and Jay? Lovely. Well,
I speak to a people who are starving.
What are you eating?
Your spaghetti. It's kind of tough.
It helps if you cook it.
Did you know
know that fake blood is mint flavored? Bert, what did I tell you about eating the props?
Now that's guerrilla filmmaking.
That's so Alan, wonderful trailer. And actually, Alan's editing the trailer for the Carrie White show to try to get that TV show sold. But what are the chances of this getting seen, realistically?
Well, we're working on trying to get it seen in a lot of places. It's already, I'm very happy to say, been shown as part of the local sightings program. We had a large screening at the Museum of Fine Arts, and I hope that there will be a great number of other Boston screenings, and with some good fortune, perhaps some screenings elsewhere around the country.
Yeah, for a film like this.
Hi, and welcome back. Yet another movie that most of us missed, and we're probably sorry we missed. Looks pretty interesting. So that was 10 years ago here in the studio. Another category of shows that we do regularly from SPG are live in-studio shows. And so the next few shows we're going to round out our evening with are from, again, 1998 live shows. The first one we're going to see is called Cupid on a Wing, done for Valentine's Day. The segment we're going to see is actually the poet Jack Powers reading some of his work. And Jack Powers actually ran Stone Soup Publishing, for those of you that know Stone Soup, that was around this Boston area, Cambridge readings. And his goal was to get poets communities to read in, communities to write with, getting to know each other. So let's hear a little bit of Jack Powers.
Different for some reason sitting down, but I do have a couple of almost love poems. Love is hard in the life that we live, but we try. I'll call this is First Love. A cleft in the cliffside, tide teased footing, imposing shoot to cathedral arching, panoply of rosa rugosa and goldenrod in geometric fruit of sumac bleeding red, careless waves toss shotgun casings, the ducks long gone, guns now asleep. We visit the shrines stolen from thin time, granite necks twisted by an insistent sea, offering passage on demand, our coming, insensate, molds the rock. We become decoration in an Italian garden, imprisoned in intimacy, sky and sea as witness, and the scuttling crab, a hermit too. Loneliness we found should be shared. Song. I think I won't do that because I would like to do this two short ones. I go to you after summer rain when little crystal bells bob on leaves and tulips gobble bumblebees, fat gold puffs disappearing into red velvet teacups, gone like raw sugar into steamy mahogany. Metamorphosized, I visit you, mica-winged, in rainbow, flash whir, instantly lost in the deep, wet center of your pungent nectar. From another little chapbook, one of the things that's great about poetry, that we find ways to get the word out, even with little things like this. And I'm with the Stone Soup Poets 27 years, and we're very happy to share a lot of different people's work in this fashion. Next time you pass a little stand that has small press, please buy it. I was going to do, actually this is, I'll do this first, amusement park. That scintillating weave which spin me swirled, cascaded, swallowed deep into God's luminous throat. Ballerina, toe descends, plunge whirl into gravity curls, sinking, suck through an invisible slit into the plump membrane, burst to free fall, slowly gyrating, a spent top toppling to sprawl into your lavender cushion. Oh, let's do it again. And in a different...
Hi, and welcome back. Our final little sketch we're going to see a bit of under our credits was Seniors on the Move, and it was a whole hour of seniors that are in a dance group and skit group talking about health concerns for senior citizens. It was really pretty hilarious, and we're going to see a little bit of their work tonight. Good night, and thank you very much.
Hey, Edith, what are you doing down there?
Oh, I'm pulling up the weeds and I'm transplanting some flowers. This is my friend's garden. I offered to help her.
You must really be a good friend. That would hurt my back so much. I love gardening, and it's good for your shape. Also, it's good for your health.
It's good exercise, huh?
It certainly is.
Gardening is exercise? That's one on me. Gardening, exercise.